Hi, my name is Naomi. I felt overlooked ever since I was a kid. My parents loved my sister Mandy more and always set her as an example. She won a gymnastics competition and our parents decided to throw a party in her honor. A bunch of relatives and friends gathered at our house. Everyone admired Mandy, praised her, and gave her gifts. As usual, no one was paying any attention to me. I was terribly bored and decided to ask my boyfriend Brian over. When he came, I felt a bit better, but soon, something terrible happened. The party was in full swing when all the guests went out for a moment. I was drinking juice and accidentally overheard a conversation in the next room. It was Brian talking to my sister. "I've liked you for a long time, Mandy, but I didn't know how to break up with Naomi. I didn't want to hurt her." My hands started shaking and I dropped my glass of juice. Mandy and Brian heard the noise and came into the living room. I was bursting with resentment and anger, and tears came to my eyes. I hadn't been expecting anything good from my sister, but how could Brian have done that to me? "Traitor! I don't want to see you anymore!" I ran outside. Mandy always got the best of everything. She took first places in competitions and was best in class. Why couldn't I do that? I didn't have any talents at all. Before I noticed, I had come to the Central Park. A group of people caught my attention. Two guys were sitting on a bench and filming a girl who was moving strangely. I came closer and froze in surprise. I couldn't believe what the girl was doing. She was trying to get through a tennis racket without the strings. Why on earth was she doing that? They suddenly noticed me. One of them smiled at me and suggested I join them. We got to talking, and it turned out they had recently created their own YouTube channel. Caleb, Rick, and Rose filmed different videos. They wanted to set as many strange records as possible and fulfilled insane tasks for their subscribers. Soon, Rose and Rick had to leave, and Caleb suggested we go for a walk together. It seemed he liked me. Hanging out with him distracted me from unpleasant thoughts. I even forgot about Brian's betrayal for some time. We exchanged phone numbers, and Caleb walked me home. The next day, he called and suggested we meet again. We all came to Rick's house, and they recorded another strange video. Caleb was trying to eat a plate of jelly with Japanese chopsticks as quickly as possible. It had us in stitches. I liked hanging out with those guys, and we started to see each other almost every day. They had a lot of cool ideas, and it was interesting to watch them. One day, their subscribers came up with an unusual task for Rose. She had to put on as many t-shirts as possible. However, just as they were about to start recording, Rose suddenly fell ill. They couldn't put off filming the video, and Caleb suggested I take her place. Seriously? You want me to star in your video? It's not hard. You'll like it. I promise. In the end, I agreed, and we went to the park. Rick put the camera on a tripod. Caleb explained what I was supposed to do one more time, and we began. At first, I felt out of place and very shy. But then I got excited and relaxed. A crowd gathered around us. They were taking pictures and cheering me on with applause. I liked being the center of attention. It turned out to be very cool. In the end, I managed to put on 160 t-shirts, and I looked like a round ball. In the evening, the guys edited the video and posted it on YouTube. The very next day, people had left a bunch of comments under it. The audience liked the video, but most of all, they liked me. They wanted me to be accepted into the team. Caleb, Rick, and Rose agreed and suggested we create content together. It was very sudden, but of course, I agreed. One day, we decided to film a breath-holding competition. We decided to film the video at the water park. There was a cool pool with a transparent wall and different levels of depth there. Caleb had just bought a new action camera that could be used underwater. We set it up in the pool and took turns diving. Rick went first, then Rose, and Caleb. The results were more or less the same. They lasted for about a minute and a half. I was the last one to dive. As a child, I had really liked to swim and often held my breath for fun, so it wasn't hard for me not to breathe for a long time. When I surfaced, I saw that Caleb had jumped into the water again and was planning to dive after me. We thought you fainted or something. You were underwater for 3 whole minutes. Psst, just 3? One day I had held my breath for almost 5. Everyone was very surprised by my ability. They looked at me like they were seeing me for the first time. All of a sudden, a man came up to us. He turned out to be the owner of the water park. His name was Mr. Jones. You would never guess what he suggested. "My business hasn't been doing great lately. A second water park with extreme slides has opened in the city, and now people go there. I saw your videos on YouTube and watched you today. You're cool, and I have a business offer for you. Film a commercial for my water park and put on an unusual show here. I'll pay you well." We looked at each other, dumbfounded. Filming videos was our hobby, but we hadn't even thought we could earn money doing it. Of course, our videos were monetized, but we got very little money anyway. Naturally, we immediately agreed. Caleb recorded a promo for the pool video. He told our audience about the water park and asked them what kind of show they would like to see. A few days later, we read the comments and discussed the ideas. I saw an interesting suggestion. One subscriber had commented that she had once been to a store a real Barbie doll lived in. She suggested that we do something similar and build a house underwater. I had heard about a live Barbie too. However, that store had closed very quickly. Everyone liked the idea, but Caleb suggested switching it up a bit. Naomi should set a record for the amount of time spent in the pool. We'll focus on her feeling at home underwater. Mr. Jones liked our plan. He started preparing for the cool show where I was supposed to shine. I didn't tell anyone at home about my new hobby or the upcoming show. One day, I heard my parents discussing a show at the water park and realized they were going to be there. I couldn't wait. They would be so surprised to see me there. Finally, they would be proud of me and not Mandy. Speaking of Mandy, we hadn't spoken since the party. If we accidentally ran into each other, I pretended not to see her. On the day of the show, I felt terribly nervous. The team supported me as much as they could, but I lacked confidence, complained a lot, and even almost argued with Caleb. A lot of artists came to the water park. They performed on a special stage, and a crowd of spectators had gathered around it. However, as soon as the host announced that I was about to dive into the pool, all attention immediately turned to me. To make everything look more impressive, we had come up with something interesting. I picked up a weight, fastened a safety rope to my leg, and dove into the deepest part of the pool. I didn't just sit there, but tried to dance beautifully. Of course, moving made me run out of air faster, but I managed to stay underwater for over 2 minutes anyways. I surfaced, caught my breath, and went down again, then again, and again, and again. When I came up, the audience would clap loudly, and that encouraged me. I felt like a real star. I had never got so much admiration and attention before. After a while, I started to get tired, and Caleb said I should take a break. I swam to the side of the pool and suddenly heard the host's loud voice. And now, welcome the unsurpassed champion, the young master of sports in rhythmic gymnastics, Mandy Moore! I thought I had heard wrong. It couldn't be happening. What was she doing there? Had Mr. Jones invited her? I looked at the stage and saw my sister. What was worse, I noticed my parents, who were watching her performance nearby. They hadn't even recognized me, all because of my stupid mask. To say that I was angry would be to say nothing. That was it. I had had enough. I was going to show them what I was capable of. Ignoring my fatigue, I sank back under the water. I didn't even use the safety rope. I got to the deepest part of the pool and hugged my knees to my chest because I was getting cold. I would prove to everyone that I was the best. I wanted to set a new record for holding my breath underwater. Soon, I could no longer tell how much time had passed. I suddenly felt very sick. I had a terrible headache and my chest started to burn. I wanted to pull the safety rope and get help, but then I remembered that I had dived without it. I had no strength left, and I couldn't swim back up. I panicked, and everything went dark. When I came to, I found myself lying on a bed. My worried parents were leaning over me. Naomi, how are you feeling? When I said everything was fine, my parents suddenly started yelling at me. How could you be so stupid? Risking your life for something so stupid. Don't do anything else like that again. Do you understand? Take a cue from your sister. If it hadn't been for her, you wouldn't have been saved at all. I wanted to feel indignant, but I froze with my mouth open. Why was he saying I wouldn't have been saved? No one saw you dive except Mandy. When you didn't come up for too long, she interrupted the performance and jumped into the pool. She's the one who pulled you out. I couldn't believe it. I'd been sure that Caleb had saved me. However, when I called him, he confirmed my parents' words. We agreed to meet in the park the following day. I came to the place where we had met, walked up to the guys, and saw a familiar scene. The boys and Rose were sitting on a bench and filming some girl who was moving strangely. As I got closer, I suddenly realized that girl was Mandy. No, it couldn't be. She was trying to squeeze in through the racket. Unlike Rose, she was very flexible and she succeeded. Everyone immediately started whistling and applauding her loudly. Caleb didn't even notice me. It was like I was stuck in a nightmare. But that wasn't the worst part. It turned out that our subscribers wanted Mandy to become part of the team. The video with my dive had gained almost 1 million views. But it wasn't me everyone was discussing in the comments, but Mandy. More precisely, the way she had saved me. I was furious. I had tried so hard, almost drowned, and she got all the glory? I spent the day in a terrible mood and didn't talk to anyone. In the evening, I accidentally overheard Mandy and Caleb talking. Just imagine they were flirting. Caleb, doesn't it bother you that she has a boyfriend? Actually, Brian and I broke up. You would have known about it if you hadn't been acting like I didn't exist. Soon, I started to notice that Caleb was spending more time with Mandy than me. History repeated itself. The guy I liked had chosen Mandy over me again. But I wasn't about to give up so easily without first giving Caleb hell. Why are you acting like this? You liked me. Yes, I liked you, but that was in the past. Look at you. You're constantly angry and jealous, and your sister is cheerful, open-minded. She's a good person. Have you ever thought that you might be the problem and not her? His words really hurt me. I couldn't bear seeing him anymore and left the team. Nothing made me happy, and I felt really down. I spent my days at home, crying and watching stupid TV shows. One day, Mr. Jones called me. There were a lot of visitors in his water park thanks to our show, and they all asked about me. I want to offer you a job. You would change into a mermaid costume and swim in the pool. We'll even build a small underwater house for you. What do you say? I agreed without hesitation. I hoped that it would help me get my mind off things and pass the time. I wasn't expecting to like that type of work, but to my surprise, I did. I spent all my free time at the water park. I was admired, constantly photographed, and the kids were crazy about me. I was surrounded by so much positivity that eventually I felt better. I started smiling and enjoying life again. One day, I saw two girls through the glass. Judging by their identical clothes, they were sisters. One of them fell down and started crying, and the other helped her up and comforted her. It was so sweet that I felt like crying. Why couldn't Mandy and I get along? After all, we were family. I couldn't stop thinking about that scene all day. Maybe Caleb had been right, and I was the one at fault, not Mandy. I probably just wanted to blame her for all my failures, and I envied her. In the evening, I plucked up the courage, called Mandy, and invited her to a cafe. We sat there for several hours. I made myself swallow my pride and ask for her forgiveness, but Mandy covered my hand with hers. Sis, I'm sorry too, for Brian and for Caleb. I really didn't mean for any of it to happen. We made up and swore that we would try not to fight anymore, especially because of boys. I finally calmed down and even came to watch the team film videos sometimes. However, I did not star in them anymore. Things got better, but one day, Brian came to the water park. I wasn't expecting to see him and hoped he would leave soon. I even stayed in the pool longer than usual, but Brian waited for me anyway. Naomi, hi. My uncle asked me to talk to you. He's a professional diver and has recently opened his own school. He saw you in the pool and was very impressed by you. He wants to offer you free tuition at his school. I was shocked. Everyone had been talking about that cool school lately. Studying there opened up great opportunities, but I had no idea that its owner was Brian's uncle. Passing up such a chance would have been stupid, and I agreed. After that, I had to combine work at the water park with diving, but I liked it. The coach praised me, and I was the best student in my group. One day, there was an exhibition performance in our school. I didn't invite anyone, but to my surprise, I saw my parents in the audience. They watched my performance, and then they came up to me and hugged me tightly. Naomi, we are so proud of you. I had been dreaming of hearing those words for so many years that I couldn't help but burst into tears. I'm fine now. I finally found myself and stopped envying my sister. Recently, Brian started hitting on me again.
My name's Sam. I met Elise in middle school. She was our neighbor, and I'd always had a crush on her. I just never got the courage up to say hi. That day, a group of boys were picking on me, and Elise swooped in to save the day. One moment they had me by my collar, and the next, they were crying on the floor, snot dripping down their noses. Elise was my hero. She got told off by our principal, and they had her parents come in. I could tell they were very mad at her, but that was the beginning of our friendship. Elise and I spent every day together, and then, one day, I asked her to be my girlfriend. She said yes. It was the happiest day in my life. But I didn't realize someone else liked her. It was one of the boys who was tormenting me, and in his jealousy, he told everyone he saw us kissing. That made Elise's parents very mad. So mad that they had a fight with my parents. They ended up moving, and I never even got to say goodbye to my childhood sweetheart. One day, she was there. The next, her whole house was empty. Many years passed and I forgot about her. I poured my soul into my work until I struck gold. Pretty much literally. I was working on my grandpa's farm when I noticed some gold nuggets in the river. I followed it all the way to a hidden cave and saw that the cave wall had collapsed and the ground had cracked, exposing the gold there. A spring of water was gushing out, creating a stream that carried the loose gold all the way down the river. I became a billionaire overnight. My family enjoyed life like we never did before. We bought all the surrounding land around the farm and built a mansion. I built a mining company, and I bought cars, a boat, and my own jet. 3 years later, my best friend came home from a job abroad with someone in tow. It was Elise. She had grown even more beautiful than before. We were so happy to see each other, we hugged immediately. I was coming home to meet you, and guess who I bumped into on the plane? I never even suspected something was off. Elise and I began dating again. We did everything together. I promised her the world, and before long, we were engaged. Jay started working for my company. I was so thankful to him I made him my right-hand man. I couldn't thank him enough for reuniting me and Elise. 2 months later, I proposed to Elise, and she said yes. I was going to marry her in Switzerland. I booked an entire ski resort for our guests, and I wasted no time. We flew on my private jet with my best man Jay and our closest friends. In the middle of the flight, Elise excused herself. She said she needed to do her makeup. 5 minutes later, Jay too stood up. I found that weird, but I ignored it. When 20 minutes had passed and Elise hadn't gone back yet, I asked our flight attendant to check on her. She smiled at me, and she blushed. I always found it so cute how she had a crush on me. Nicole went behind the curtain to check on Elise. She was about to knock on the bathroom door when she yelped in surprise. Elise wasn't in the bathroom at all. She was hiding right next to the fridges, talking with Jay. "Oh, I'm sorry to disturb you. I'll get out of your way." We heard a click, and 2 voices came on the speakers. "You know I've never loved anyone but you. I'm just, securing our future. Once I marry Sam, we'll be set for life. I'll run away with his money and his jewels, and then we can disappear to any country you want." "You promise?" "I promise, baby. I'm only marrying him for a show. I'll trick him into signing divorce papers as soon as I've got everything I can get from him." "I believe you. Oh, I can't wait. And when you're free of him, I can finally make my move to take over his company, too. I have people who are loyal to me now. All right, I'll come knock at your door tonight. When he's asleep, we can go on a date under the moonlight so no one will know." "I'll be expecting you. Oh, and act like we had an argument when you go out. I'll follow after a minute, so it's not too obvious." But nothing was secret about their conversation at all. The flight attendant overheard what they were talking about, and she decided she wasn't just going to smile and pretend like nothing was happening. So, she politely excused herself and very cunningly left the intercom on. I heard everything she was saying. The whole plane did. The air suddenly felt tense. Where before my friends and I were laughing and having fun, the moment Jay appeared from behind those curtains, everyone was silent. My friends all glared at him. And when Elise appeared behind him, she knew immediately something was wrong. But she tried to play it cool. "Oh, Jay, I didn't even see you there. Why are you standing in the middle of the aisle? And why is everyone staring?" I pushed the button on my seat, and the flight attendant came to me. I smiled at her. "You can come sit here, Nicole." The flight attendant looked surprised at first, but she eventually sat beside me. She was even more beautiful up close, and her blonde hair smelled like lavender. "Could you confirm, please, Nicole, that these were the 2 having that conversation we just heard?" Nicole nodded. "Conversation? What conversation? What are you talking about?" "There's no need to pretend. We heard you. We all heard you." Elise's face changed from being innocent to angry. "Okay, so what? Did you honestly think I'd ever fall for you? Look at you. Now look at me. You're nothing compared to me. All you're good for is money. I've been with your best friend ever since before we reunited. In fact, he was the one who told me you were rich now. It's not like you can do anything about it. You are going to fall, and you're going to fall hard. I'm just here to take what I can get before you're a homeless beggar in the streets. I just smiled. I gestured to Nicole to help me with something. Nicole, love, would you be so kind as to fetch Elise her, I mouthed the word, parachute. Nicole was confused, but she nodded anyway and disappeared behind the curtain. Get me a what? I don't need anything. Honestly, just get over it already. You're toast. Elise tried to sit next to me, but I pushed her away, to the other end of the seats. What? You can't seriously be mad at me. You should be thanking me. It's a privilege you get to marry me. I laughed. There won't be a wedding, Elise. Oh, please. You're joking, right? You're gonna dump me? Me? Oh, I'm not just dumping you. I'm throwing you out of the plane. Fuel is very expensive, you see, and I just can't stand to have you waste any more of my time and money. So, I'm afraid this is your stop. Nicole appeared with the parachute. Jay looked scared. I looked at him and told him to put the chute on his girlfriend. He didn't want to, but I told him that if he wanted to keep his job and reputation, he should do everything I said. Just like that, Jay turned on Elise. He strapped the parachute on her as if his life depended on it. Elise resisted, but what could she do? No one in that plane wanted her there anymore. You're gonna regret this! Nobody's ever gonna want to date you! You think any girl would want you? Just you wait! You'll come crawling back to me! I don't think so. I took Nicole's hand and asked her if I could kiss her. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she said yes. I kissed her right in front of Elise's shocked face. Wait! No, wait! I changed my mind. I do want to marry you. No, don't make me get off the plane. We can start over. No, please, don't leave me here. I don't have any money. I won't be able to get home. We're in the middle of nowhere, Sam. Sorry, you've got to go now. No, don't! And as Elise floated away, I called out to her. Who's falling now, Elise? Everyone laughed, and Nicole finally did as well. I knew the moment she started working on that jet that she had a thing for me. I just never really thought of it because I thought I was in love and happily engaged. But now I get to date a much more beautiful girl than that gold digger. She was hardworking, ambitious, and smart too. The wedding still went through. It was just postponed a few days. Not to Elise, obviously. I married Nicole. None of our guests complained. At least, they got to stay 3 days longer in that ski resort. It took a while to get Nicole's parents and friends flown over since the decision was so spontaneous. But as soon as they did, I asked for their blessing, and Nicole and I got married in the Swiss Alps. After, we spent an entire month traveling Europe. We went to Rome, then Croatia, then Norway. And honestly, I couldn't have wished for a better wife. Nicole was everything I knew she was going to be. She was caring and sweet, and she always made me laugh. The best part of the trip was when we saw a newspaper with Elise's face plastered all over it. Her hair was all sorts of a mess and had leaves and twigs all over. The headline said that she was a lost tourist who became a meme for telling the most ridiculous story when they found her. The funniest part was that she had stupidly opened her parachute way too early, and the wind carried her hundreds of miles from where we dropped her. She ended up stuck in a tree in a forest in Liechtenstein. The people there thought she was some sort of Russian spy and refused to help her. Nobody wanted to help her get home, and they didn't want to give her a job. Now she's living under a bridge like the troll that she is.